Hello everyone. So the country I chose to explore was Sierra Leone. I didn't know a lot about this country and I thought that it had a lot of interesting material that could be covered. This country actually started to populate in the 1600s due to natural resources that were found, which included goods such as lumber and ivory. In addition, Sierra Leone was involved with the slave trade until the bartering of slaves became illegal in the early 19th century. Slaves were then shipped back to Sierra Leone, which led to a significant increase in the country's population. In the 1960s, Sierra Leone became its own country when it was able to claim freedom from Great Britain. However, this country went through a long period of violence during its 11-year civil war, which happened in the early 1990s. One of the major reasons that started the Civil War was due to the country's poor economic system, which created a wider separation between socioeconomic classes. The financially destitute continued to struggle while earning monetary funds through agricultural production and through mining. This specific monetary class was able to obtain the limited goods such as food, products, and diamonds due to their limited political power and influence within their country. Currently, Sierra Leone has continued to struggle economically, especially when other nations have depended on this country's natural resources for hundreds of years. Sierra Leone continues to be a nation that has a difficult time to overcome the issue of poverty. Currently, according to the Central Intelligence Agency, 70.2% of individuals are actually considered to be living in poverty, and the GDP per capita in 2016 was identified to be $1,700. The value of GDP continues to be significantly low for this nation. Sierra Leone has often utilized and depended upon its natural resources to economically survive, which includes agriculture, mining, and casting for seafood. According to the Central Intelligence Agency, the following percentages identify the breakdowns of GDP, which includes 71% agriculture, 7.9% industry, and 21% services. The majority of families in this country are dependent upon agriculture as their main source of income. Sierra Leoneans often cultivate rice. Sierra Leoneans actually depend on rice as their main form of plantation, since there's a high demand for food in this country, for this type of food, I should say, in this country. In addition, the other food groups that Sierra Leoneans typically raise and grow on their plantations include the following: coffee, cocoa, palm kernels, palm oil, peanuts, cashews, poultry, cattle, sheep, pigs, and fish. In order to meet the country's high demand for these resources, many countries construct temporary housing accommodations that are located by their farms. Agriculturists live at these short-term locations to ensure that their land will remain safe and untouched by animals from robbers during certain months out of the year. A significant barrier that occurs amongst these families is where can they cultivate these farms. Often, these farms go by the male's familial ancestry. So there's a bigger problem if the husband in the family passes away, since it often is difficult to determine who in the family is going to inherit the land due to gender and opportunities. If the woman is not from the same culture as her deceased husband, she may actually lose rights to their plantation. This issue is even a more significant barrier during the Ebola epidemic in 2014 throughout 2015, since families were participating in spiritualistic rituals after the individual's death. This led to more of this disease being transmitted to various populations and towns due to issues of hygiene. There actually were 12,900 cases of Ebola in Sierra Leone in 2015. The spread of Ebola then led to further issues of poverty and imposed further stress upon the country's economy, since numerous family dynamics were impacted. Individuals did not participate in physical labor as much due to fear of getting sick, or they weren't able to participate due to their physical involvement if they already were sick. Families also struggled to pay for medical funds for those family members who were ill. Children were also not attending school, and which led to an issue with obtaining an education, since families did not want their children to transmit the virus or catch it in public locations. In addition, there were also significant shortages of food due to numerous families who were not willing to work on the plantations due to these health concerns. Not only was the Ebola virus a significant impact on the economy, but Sierra Leone also has had to deal with massive flooding issues, in particular since August of this year. This has led to the destruction of numerous agricultural resources and a shortage of food. Thousands of Sierra Leoneans actually lost their homes, and hundreds were killed, crops were destroyed, and millions of dollars was needed in order to rebuild homes, hospitals, and schools. In addition, farming capabilities were also severely impacted due to issues of soil erosion and the ground becoming too inundated with moisture, so it no longer could hold any more water. It has been mentioned in research that the continual deforestation that has been going on in Sierra Leone, either due to trade and wanting to obtain timber, or just clearing out of a war due to issues from violence with that and clearing land. This has actually led to issues for increasing the number of floods and mudslides, which has also contributed to the shortage of food within Sierra Leone. Diamond mining has placed a huge burden on the country's economic well-being, as well as the country's environmental conditions. Since diamonds are rare and scarce, and they can only be found in selective locations, this situation impacts the product's value, which in turn influences the high demand to obtain this resource. So diamond mining further impacts the gap between socioeconomic levels in Sierra Leone. Wealthier individuals are more capable of purchasing and obtaining mines that are more likely to produce more brilliant diamonds. In addition, these populations can also afford to enforce more security measures to ensure that their products will not get stolen, whereas those who are financially destitute cannot afford to go to this type of measure. Regardless of who owns the mines, this opportunity does increase employment opportunities with Sierra Leone. However, there are minimal incentives to obtain a position as a miner. Workers will not be financially compensated unless they locate a diamond within the mine. Miners who are able to locate these diamonds will not receive a large profit due to the extensive hierarchy that is involved with this process. So the mining process itself in Sierra Leone can be very complicated. It's broken down to investors who are seeking access to mining plots and those who are local landowners who hold the mining licenses that compete for the diamond's value. So this issue can become convoluted very quickly due to all the external involvement that occurs within this process. The UN Security Council and the Kimberley Process Certification Scheme are two organizations that have been trying to oversee these mining procedures with not as much luck. They are trying to assess corruption within the mining process. However, enforcement can be very difficult due to all the dynamics that are going on in this situation. Therefore, both mining and agricultural opportunities in Sierra Leone are not always promising sources of income. So the big question, what happens to address all these economic concerns in Sierra Leone? How can people overcome this due to everything that they've been experiencing? So it seems to be that education is a major factor that needs to be focused upon, since children have limited opportunities to actually attend school. Children represent the largest age group within Sierra Leone's current population. This situation was a significant concern during the Ebola epidemic, since there was widespread fear that the disease would further spread in public settings. In addition, due to the increase in natural disasters, mudslides have destroyed academic settings, which has led to the educational decline with Sierra Leone. According to the Central Intelligence Agency, about 60% of the population is under 25 years old, and 60% of the youth employment rate is actually attributed to high levels of illiteracy and unskilled labor, also due to a lack of private sector jobs and low pay. So therefore, society needs to place a stronger emphasis about all the benefits to receiving an education. Unfortunately, this situation often becomes a vicious cycle, since a lack of education is one of the main factors related to job and opportunity that negatively impacts Sierra Leone's economy. When a nation has high rates of unemployment, the government often wants to compensate for this issue by increasing monetary production. Inflation has actually led to significant issues within the Sierra Leonean economy. Sierra Leone has actually had to produce excessive funds in order to become more competitive with the international trade market, which in turn, the hope for the government was that the high level of inflation would decrease over time once they were able to be more involved in international trade. The government also wanted to ensure that the price of imports would decrease, making products more affordable for Sierra Leoneans, while also increasing job opportunities within the country. However, the issue of employment is even a bigger concern when very limited sections of Sierra Leone have access to electricity. Therefore, Sierra Leone should invest in solar energy panels due to the climate of Sierra Leone. This would be more cost-effective due to the country's financial constraints. Sierra Leone will continue to struggle with being able to complete an international trade due to limited access to electrical resources, which impacts the creation of roads, factories, businesses, and will impede opportunities to become technologically advanced. Therefore, it seems Sierra Leone needs to continue to focus upon more fundamental approaches, which includes the implementation of electricity in order for this country to compete in international trade. Advancements in technology often provide easier means to produce goods at a faster rate. However, Sierra Leone does not have this opportunity with its current limitations of energy and power. Furthermore, society's poor view of education continues to be a significant barrier to achieving these future advancements. Sierra Leone needs to invest in the future of its children in order to break the vicious cycle of violence and poverty.